auditing WFP, that my government made me announce that the money was given to. What happened? My same government came to me and said, yeah, you announced it. I said, but the Constitution is very clear that monies that come from state coffers will have to be accounted for. I was blasted out and told not to talk that again. And it's in the Constitution. You don't give money, state resources to anybody. Even the president's speech that's coming out, he has to explain. So what do we do? I was blasted out. I'll let it go. Does anybody know any audit report or anything from the 30 million? The answer is no. The $25 million mop-up. And when the issue came, I was told, I was the deputy minister, I was told to tell the country that WFP is an international organization, therefore they cannot be subject to audit. I said, but Tyler Grandpa money, I can not audit. But again, like I said, I was blasted at 16 billion mop-up exercise. The 16 billion, sorry. I went to Nathaniel Petrie and had a clear explanation of that money and what had happened, and that our country's currency in circulation was about 17.5 million. So it was not possible for the 16 billion to get missing. Then mean, oh, our country money gone. So I got to learn that there were extra money printed and that was that money that got missing. And it was proven in the two reports. Did we dwell on that? Not much. The $25 million mop-up exercise. What did we focus on? We focused on 17.5 million. But nobody focused on the fact that the two reports clearly stated that the money was taken outside of the banking institutions and changed on the street. Now listen to this. The reason was that there was no money in the bank, I was told. The banking institutions did not have the money. That Fula people, Indian people, and other people were keeping the monies in their houses and changing it on the street. Now let's get one thing clear. How do you change 17.5 billion US dollars? I'm talking about the quantum of money, meaning that kind of money, US dollar, cash money. How do you change it outside? And you change it. Now let's come to the auditors. As government spokesperson, I have always been the one to ask questions because I have always been the one to sit behind the microphone. And James Goody, I heard you're cutting that clip from 4 hours, just as I show it today on my stuff. You go to 2 and then up to about 5, right in between there, you will get it. You go, they will call you, for example, and say, oh, we got some issue, yada, 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 X, Y, Z. And as a spokesperson for the government, it's your job. If they tell you that, oh, the auditors died this way, as a spokesperson, you can't go say, oh, I will talk my own thing. That's not normal. But let's start with Bate Niswa. The day before Bate died, I was one of those. If he saw 1,000 people, I was one of those that he saw. I was in my girl's fence when he came. He came with a dummy report, which he told me about. I'm just going to make it fast. It was a folder. The under part was blue, but they're plastic, and the top part was clear plastic. But the under part was blue hard plastic. And he told me it was an audit report. He confided in me that what was in the audit report was damning. Very damning. And I will always have these big guys to go and see my girl, because the place was always packed to capacity. So I'm one of those who was privileged to go in, come out anytime I want to. So I went and told my girl that Bate was there. And that Bate said he had an audit report. Maggie said, let him wait. Maggie was dealing with people. I know what Bate told me concerning the damning things that were in the report. One had to do with the port. So when I went in the second time and Maggie could not see Bate, But they said, my man, I'll come back tomorrow. I said, okay, then I'll just tell Maggie you'll come back tomorrow. That was it. The next morning, I went to pick up Nathaniel Bagel, and we normally do our stretch right in the yard. We go for a walk. We went for our walk, and while on our walk, we got the call that Bate had passed away. We were both shocked. How it happened? They said he fell from up was the initial report we got. I was asked to go and announce stupidity. That's how we call it here today. And I said, no, there has to be a report. The police have to give us initial findings on what happened, what didn't happen. We have to know. But Maggie was very distraught. He was very disturbed at that news. We did not end our walking. We came back. Maggie does not normally go with his phone. So again, when that happened, we came back trying to put together the pieces. It wasn't making sense to anybody. Why would Bate Niswa go to Calabash and get drunk to the point where he can't walk? Who drove him home? That question today cannot be answered. When Bate left his house to go to Calabash with the friends, who did he leave behind? When he came back to his house and he climbed the stairs, who carried him upstairs? He walked? If he was that drunk? But Bate, who is Bate? Who got his own house? Don't know where the bathroom is. The story we were getting from the initial report, they said he woke up to go pee-pee and he used the side door from where he fell. Who was there to know that he wanted to go pee-pee? How did they manage to know he was going to pee-pee? Those were questions that could not be answered as spokesperson for the government. Why, when Bate fell from that elevation of the door to the ground, how did Bate's body appear out the distance that it appeared? As spokesperson for the government, and you have a smart journalist, these are questions that you have to answer. Because when you put together the pieces, it does not make sense. He had lived in our house forever. No matter how he was drunk, how did he get up? Who put him in the room if he was that drunk? Okay, fast forward. I don't want to waste my time. Let's go to Gifty. May their souls rest in peace. When asked again, I had similar questions. Who was the first to speak? The president. What did the president say about them? Apparently, they were making love in the car. That threw the whole debate from the reality on the ground. And people who know about it, I'm challenging them to speak to it. Once the president said that, we didn't know where to start from now to talk. But there were questions. Here are some of the questions. What were Gifty and what he were working on, the other auditor? They were working on a very damning report from different entities, including the port being the main one. Now, what happened? According to government explanation, they said, oh, the man called a woman, this and that. As spokesperson for the government, I had a couple of questions to ask. And I saw that people were chasing me like, you want to know too much and stuff. But the truth of the matter is, if two persons sat in a car up Broad Street and the windows were up and there were no air coming in somehow under the carbon monoxide, how is it possible that somebody sitting in the car will not know that they are choking? Two persons sitting in the car will not know, all two of them, that they are choking. How is it that they will not even be able to bring the window down? How is it that they will not even open the car door? How is it that two of them will sit and die in the seat with the seatbelt on? How is it there will be unexplained circumstances to this death? I was chief spokesperson. I am supposed to answer pressman question. What happens if these questions come about? So again, when the government say Bate dropped as a result of falling, that's the government's stuff. But and that he went out with friends to drink, and they came back and he went upstairs and he was sleeping, he woke up to go pee-pee and he dropped. That is it. The two auditors, if you were a press person or a spokesperson, you going to stand in front of people and tell them, these two people sat in the car. Even though they were choking, they never wound the glasses down. They never opened the door. They just sat there and died like fools. And both of them died at the same time. Will he be able to explain that as a press person? So if Goodell got my tip, let him play it. I can say to anybody, there were circumstances that I, as deputy minister, that I sat behind the microphone or stood behind the microphone. There were things I had to grapple with. And yes, I told Kev, you will know how to die because the time is not far. For example, I'll go with the last one not to bore anybody here. On the county tour, Ledger, who was given $5,000 for the government information team, he took Kwame Weeks, split the money with him from Lena, and they left me behind. Miguel asked me to come along. Miguel felt that I was not treated fairly. I'm the Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs. How is President going on a county tour that you need a man who's supposed to talk to the press behind? So Miguel said, my man, ride with me, let's go. We got in Miguel's car. We went on a trip. In Ganta, I repeat, the foreign minister, everybody lining up to go to the president, came to Miguel's car, tap on the window, and say, Fahngon, I need to explain something serious to Miguel. So let me ride with Miguel, please. While we're going, I will explain it to him. It's very serious. It's a national issue, blah, blah, blah. So I look at Miguel and said, he said, you can ride my car. Ride my car. Yeah, right there. Just go ride my car. So in Ganta, I got down. He's a senior minister. I went to his car. It was a white Toyota Land Cruiser. And the seat there in that thing is hard like plank. I sat in the car. But for some reason, I don't know what came over me. I know I wasn't feeling comfortable. There was a guy sitting in the front seat. I don't know if he's EPS or what. I don't know. But he was in the front seat. So I sat for a while. And you know they can be lining up the cars in the way and manner in which they should proceed in the convoy. Then I said, no, I can't do this. And I got down. Because I was not comfortable. I took a ratting car and I left Ekip to Banga for my way to Monrovia. The next morning, I get a call from FINA telling me that one EPS officer case. The first thing I expressed was shock. I was very shocked. I'm like, hey, man, you know, you feel bad. But what happened? How you case said? Y'all got to go announce that the EPS officer case said. Now I told her, no, madam, it don't work like that. The EPS officer case said, how? Why? Where? And she said, y'all just go to... She just cut the phone off. She was angry. And I was trying to tell Kev, have you been in my shoes? The first news that came out, EPS officer K said, okay, fine. How? Then later, the story started to evolve and the story started to change. Now he was going mentally insane, and then he posted a threat to the president live, and then the Arabia, yada, yada, yada. Have you been in my shoes? There are questions today that need answers, and by the grace of God, those answers will come one day. And
Fahngon,
yes,
thank you.
it.
Thank you very much. I have some lawyer friends texting me because of what you are saying today. They believe that you are reopening the file.
Mm-hmm.
They believe that you can serve as a family state witness to the investigation when they reopen the file. Are you looking to do something like that? Will you be willing to testify to what you believe, what you know, what you have heard?
Stanton, what I say here tonight is what I'll stand by. I was one of the last person who saw Bate Niswa, and I don't believe Bate went out to drink, get drunk, can't even get back to his house. Based on what Bate told me and what I saw in Bate's hand, I believe that Bate Niswa was murdered.
So my last question before I bring the rest of the folks in. If you think, and I was just focused on THINK, if you think that they were murdered, if you think that somebody killed them, to be blunt, if you think somebody entered Bate Niswa's home and killed him, put those people in the car, Then I will ask you, give me one good reason. I know you have explained a lot why you think they were murdered. Just one. The main purpose of why you think and who you think may have done such a thing.
No. I will not say who I think. No. Let the investigation produce that person.
So why you think
That's
so?
my thought. Now,
so why you
as
think
to
so?
why I think they were murdered, because if Bate can look at me and tell me that the report in his hands was damning, and the only person he could share it with was McGill, and not just put it out there, it means that they have uncovered massive corruption that, in my opinion, only a man like McGill could have seen. Secondly, let me tell you something that happened. I've been in that situation all the time. On one separate occasion, the little guy from EPA, what's the labor name? Not labor per se, but he's the deputy. If you recall, there was a spillage from the LPRC from a tanker that caused serious environmental problems, or killing the fishes and what have you. I will get him because I know somebody will soon put it out. The report they got from that oil spillage, imagine ship offloading, and people are like, they forget the tank was like to this level, and you wouldn't be small boat, and they forgot and start falling, and everybody standing by the set. The whole thing leaked in the ocean. It took days to clean it out from our port. The report there was so damning. Only one person, Randall Dobayu, that's why I like the librarian. Only one person he wanted to talk to about the report. And you know what? When we went to the meeting, the LPRC boss, the lady said the place was too hot. She could not stay. When those guys had opened up, we went to the meeting at the EPA's place, and she said the place was too hot. She could not stay there. She could not be in. She had to leave. That's because what they were putting out there. And I'm sure one day these reports will come out for people to see. There was massive damage caused as a result of that spillage that the companies could have paid millions of dollars for. But then,
so again, since then, let's go back to the issue, and guys, you can comment.
And that's what I'm coming to.
Yes.
The reports I believe the auditors had. For example, we were bragging as a government that there were over 2,000 ghost names of teachers. Good day, then we'll confirm that to you even right here. That were wiped up from the Ministry of Information, Education, payroll. 2,000 plus ghost names. I made that announcement. The question was, again, when Bate talked about education being one of them that day, was who was eating this money? Because it was a new government, I remember. So they didn't come up and say, oh, this and that. It was Bate them from IAA who conducted that investigation and found out. So who was collecting the over 2,000 people salaries all along until that fateful day? There were so many damning reports that came out of the administration. And if you notice, the auditors die within weeks of each other. They die within weeks of each other. So it tells you the real story. So I believe they were murdered because of what they knew and the damaging effect it would have had on the administration. Thank
you very much. Thank you. Dr. Rich is saying, Salamatu, Kev Hassan, Toman and George, and Dr. Peabody. Can you please join in with your two questions?
I don't have any questions. I just have a comment, and my heart goes out to the families of the auditor. Every time we speak about them, it's kind of reopen, the wounds of losing a loved one. I only wish that our security system apparatus can just educate, train more the investigators, the police on things like fingerprinting analysis, large tests, how to ask good investigative questions, setting up timeline, all of those kind of forensic, things that people in other parts of the world can use to analyze cases. I wish that we could train our security system to do that. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Salamatu, your two questions.
No, I actually just have one question, and maybe it's a comment. Again, my heart goes out to the family for reopening this. But have they also thought about doing their own independent investigation as to what happened? I mean, autopsy is one thing, can tell you, yeah, how the person died, but an investigation will be able to explain how, what happened that led to maybe to the person's death. So that was just a question. I don't know if anybody know the family.
Thank you, Sir Matthew. You want to say something to that?
The family, as in the case of Gifty and the others, asked for an autopsy to be done. There was a lot of skepticism about the autopsy and its reports, but they did ask for an autopsy. Like, okay, for example, Mr. Innes from the bank is somehow related, not somehow, he is related to McGill's wife. And the circumstances surrounding his death, which happened around the same time as the auditors, and the explanation that was given to this day does not make sense. Still does not make sense. But again, like I said, there are people in Liberia who wish they could fight, but are afraid that they will suffer the same fate as their relatives. And that is the fear that most people have. And that is why they're quiet. Because sometimes they really want to go all out, but they can't because they just feel like nothing's going to come out of it. And if they push it, they'll die.
Thank you very much. Kev Hassan?
Yeah, well, I think we should pay attention to this, statement by Minister Fahngon. I think we should go back to the tape because he said he would tell me how they died.